This video is brought to you by GameMaker. And if you've ever wanted to get into game development, GameMaker does this really crazy thing where it's free. Just start making and only pay when you want to release your game to the world commercially.
It's fast, it's user-friendly, and there's easy-to-follow tutorials, plus a dedicated community to help answer even my questions. How make man jump? GameMaker is a 2D game engine that's helped bring some of yours and my favorite recent experiences to life, like UFO 50, Chicory, Anton Blast, and of course, Yahtzee's own Starstruck Vagabond.
Ooh, we talking about GameMaker? I love that program, it's so easy to use. As well as Starstruck Vagabond, I also used it to make all 12 projects in my 12 games in 12 months Dev Diary challenge. And I couldn't believe how much sex I got out of that. None. I got none at all. Which I couldn't believe.
So what are you waiting for? Head on over to the GameMaker link in the description and start cracking away today, because we want to play your game.
Yeah, looking through this list, I'm seeing one of you made Armpit Fart Tycoon, and I've got several questions for you.
Hello there, everyone, and welcome to Firelink Podcast, episode number 55 for Wednesday, February 19th, 2025. I'm Marty, joined by Casey, Nick, and Eric. As always, we got a great show for you guys. A lot of times we just talk about games, about like the idea of games, but games are actually here. We thought they might be taking 2025 out, but they're not. They're back, including Avowed, including the new Like a Dragon game. We're going to be chatting about both of those, as well as a couple news stories. I'm going to floor everyone. There's more layoffs.
Oh, whoa.
I know. I thought we could do like the factory sign that said 1 week since layoffs, but we can't. And so layoffs this time at a very developer of a very successful game. So who knows what the fuck is going on? And then
like the new hotness on the street.
So why bother doing anything? I think is the ultimate message. And then we're going to talk about Niantic, the developers of Pokemon Go, possibly selling their gaming division. What's going to happen there? What's going to happen to Pikachu?
Probably going to be laid off.
No, Pikachu! Pikachu can't make it. It's a time to scream. What use is any of us? Also, comments, we see you. Thank you everyone who's live on YouTube, everyone listening or watching the VOD or your podcast service of choice, and especially to our patrons. I'm gonna be honest, the verdict is in. 1 out of 3 people like my lighting.
Yep, I was gonna say the first comment about your lighting came within 7 seconds of the podcast starting. So
that is neutral. I'd say mood lighting is good, and then why do you look like you're in the 70s? I would say lean's bad.
Well, that would be the cardigans.
We were focused on making sure I want to hear. Tell me what I sound like if I sound good, and if I don't sound good, I'm not going to change it, and it's actually going to get in my head, and it's going to be a bad show.
There were no comments about your sound, so I think you're good.
Maybe that's why I'm doing this. Think about that.
The lighting was just a distraction.
Focus on something else.
Bit of a humdinger. Just a bit of a humdinger. How are you guys doing? We're almost into March. Casey, you're getting married in March. That's one of your married months.
Yeah, this is like a pre-marriage. This is a marriage for the culture, and then the next one is a marriage for like the state.
How come we're only invited to one of them? How come we can't go to both of them?
Look, if you want to, I'm not going to tell you how to spend your money, but I think
air travel is way too dangerous. I'm only rolling the dice once. I'm not rolling the dice twice that my plane's going to flip upside down.
This is a serious issue because my child has to fly back and forth to see me.
It's I have never had a fear of flying, and I've booked several flights lately, and I'm like, are these gonna be okay?
Yeah, it's you can't not think about it.
Yeah, it's fine. Everyone's always like, oh, you have a better chance of dying by like your fridge falling on you. So just worry about your fridge falling on you.
In Marty's way of dealing with things, if they change the lighting of the plane, I won't think about dying.
I mean, they can't. Yeah, if there's mood lighting, no one's ever died in mood lighting. Find me one person who's died in mood lighting.
Everybody in John Wick.
Okay, well, They had it coming. They had all those coins and whatnot. I don't know what was going on with that story. John Wick's
Blade.
nonsense, right? Blade. Motherfuckers want to ice skate uphill. Speaking of Blade, Casey, that was actually kind of perfect. Blade, one of the hit stars of Marvel Rivals, possibly.
Coming soon,
I don't know.
apparently.
Oh,
No,
he's
coming.
not. Okay,
He's been leaked as coming to the game.
but I've heard some rumors that they've been leaking fake things to try to trick people, which I'm a fan of. I'm a fan of like counter leaks. But NetEase, the developer of Marvel Rivals, surprisingly laid off, I'm going to say, their entire US team. And I'm going to say that in that it is a relatively small team. There is a small 6-person team. I believe, Nick, you looked into this, a 6-person team in Seattle that included a game director, level designer that were laid off, despite the fact that this game came out a few months ago, and by all metrics seemed to be a smash hit.
Yeah, like 30 million monthly active users, something like that. Like it's stupid.
Yeah. Nick, you've been digging into this for your Unpacked later this week. What can you tell us about this?
Yeah, so this story's a lot more complicated than it sounds. A lot bigger story too. That's not really. It really doesn't have a lot to do with Marvel Rivals itself. I think the Games Press yesterday definitely jumped on it very quickly, trying to break that news because they labeled the guy's name is Thaddeus Sasser as the game director. He's like not the creative director, which is a lot of the headlines and everything made it sound like they fired the whole Marvel Rivals team. The game director, the creative director is gone. Thaddeus Sasser was not the creative director of the game. He was a game director that dealt with budgets and team management and stuff like that. And then the other people at the Seattle studio, which 6 in total were fired, worked on research and development for a number of different things, and then level designers, which I don't know all the specifics of like how much involvement they had in level design. From what it sounds like, from what I was kind of told, it was like more consulting than actual designing.
And to clarify, none of us are saying that these are like unimportant roles, or that these are that. It's just to put into context of sometimes when there's layoffs, it's like 50% of the studio, 150 people have been laid off or something. Yeah. This is a small 6-person team, notably in the US. So what part of that? NetEase, obviously a Chinese-based company. What are you reading into that, Nick?
So a lot of the larger story is NetEase, as you said, is a Chinese publisher, and they've made a lot of investments in North American studios, really starting in 2022. So they have, before a couple of weeks ago, they had, I think, 7 studios that they invested in. 2 of them you just heard about layoffs recently, Jar Sparks and what's the other one? Worlds Untold. They were both working on new IPs under NetEase, and they just,
one of them was like a one of those BioWare, like founded by a longtime BioWare person, right? Which we've heard about a couple times.
Yep. So NetEase, the story, like when they made their statements about the studios having to like pause their projects, they didn't mention NetEase specifically. I'm guessing some contract wording there, but it's, from all intents and purposes, NetEase pulled funding from those studios, which basically killed whatever game they're working on, and both of those studios are now looking for different publishing partners. This studio in Seattle was a support studio for Marvel Rivals, and so the speculation is that NetEase is essentially pulling out of North America due to the tariffs and the politics of everything going on, especially within, next month that Trump wants to impose like 25% plus tariffs on semiconductors and all that kind of stuff from those countries. So yeah, I have a bad feeling about those other studios that have NetEase partnerships, and they seem to be kind of lowering investments maybe in even more Western studios, because Liquid Swords, the developer, they're working on their first game. That's from the guy
Wu-Tang?
What?
Wu-Tang? Liquid Swords? Wu-Tang? Sorry,
no.
It was could have been the Wu-Tang. Okay, so you gotta say something. You can't just shake your head.
Nope, we gotta. When Nick does it to you, you get pissed too.
Yeah,
that was more of a
Marty.
No. That was a goof. That was a goof. Bro. That wasn't a correction. That was a Liquid Swords goof.
This was a new studio from the guy that was behind Avalanche Studios and the founder of Just Cause and all that kind of stuff. and they also just had to lay off people. I'm assuming because something happened with NetEase funding being pulled in some form or another. So yeah, like that's the real story behind the Marvel Rivals stuff. Not that Marvel Rivals is in trouble, not that the player accounts or anything, not that they're not making enough money.
I have a
And
question.
America's in trouble. Yeah, go ahead, Casey.
Yeah,
Because I didn't see anything about people thinking it was a money thing. Like I think everyone is well aware it's a screaming success, and this is just weird that they would fire anyone involved in that success with the game moving up. But the whole tariff thing, on one hand, makes a lot of sense that any foreign company investing in American businesses, etc., would now be a little hesitant, and maybe it makes a lot more sense for them since their American division was so small, like it's only 6 people. But I'm still a little confused as to how, because the tariffs are like taxes on import goods, as I understand it. I'm unsure how, like, having staff overseas is affected by that in any like real way. And like it could just be like a logistics thing where it's like maybe there's other factors that are going to be affected, and just to cut, ties entirely, they're like, all right, well, let's divest ourselves of anything in North America. It could be something like that.
If I had to guess, because I really don't know, like you're right, I don't really understand how the tariffs would impact that specifically.
Mhm.
But I would imagine they probably looked at what just happened with Marvel Snap, where the game was being made by a studio in the U.S. and the government got in the way of that.
Yeah, granted that it was the Snapchat or the TikTok,
TikTok,
connection. But yeah, that's a really good point, Nick. I wasn't even thinking about that.
Yeah, so I mean, if I don't know, I guess if I were any Chinese company investing in US right now, I'd be a little bit wary. But also, like, their statement to VGC and everything is basically just making the development of Marvel Rivals more streamlined, and I guess they decided they didn't have a need for that support studio at this point now that the game is out.
Yeah, you have a couple.
That's a possibility too.
A couple of thoughts about this. One, I think the kind of stigma that China can't make a AAA, what the rest of the world sees as a AAA game that isn't a gacha, is going away. We've seen Stellar Blade. We've seen Wukong. Like that is going away. Like the playing fields are leveling. 6 people in the Seattle area in the US, you could probably get 3 or 4 times that labor in China. Not a good reason to do it, but that money probably gets you a lot further over there. Also, some of the things I read were they might not only be trying to separate themselves from the American side of things, but all international sides of things, which is interesting because NetEase heavily invested in Nagoshi-san Studio. That is the guy, the Monkey Ball Sega Yakuza dude who left a few years ago, started his own studio, primarily funded by NetEase. It's a Japanese-based studio. So I'm curious if that's going to be impacted by this. If NetEase is very serious about being like, we want to keep things in China. Japan's not China. I mean, it's Japan is as foreign to China as the U.S. is. So even though it's much closer, so I'm curious to see if anything happens there.
And a quick correction: Stellar Blade was a Korean game, not Chinese.
My mistake. Sorry. Yeah, Korean game. Along with obviously NeoWiz is also a Korean studio.
Korean,
Liza P. So yeah, apologies about that.
Have there been rumblings about anything like this from any other Chinese dev, like, or have they been largely China based? Like, I don't know if the Wukong devs have anyone US based. I don't know if MiHoYo has anyone US based.
Tencent sure does. Sure.
Well, what I wanted to look into, what I wanted to look in, or what I'm starting to look into is like, is Tencent directly funding any studios in the US? Because they have shares in a lot of companies.
Yeah.
But they're not, like, these companies aren't subsidiaries of NetEase like World Untold was, which was a direct subsidiary of NetEase, which is different. So I don't know. It's going to be weird though, like, depending on, I do think, like, and pretty much a lot of the analysts are saying it too, is like, depending on how bad this trade war gets, costs a lot of people jobs in the industry.
Yeah. Yeah, we got a couple good Patreon comments from our $5 tier and above. If you're on Patreon, you're able to submit your questions, comments, concerns about our topics. Itorona over in Patreon said, how much of the layoffs do you think are a response to overshooting hiring during COVID? I know that was a stated reason during the first round of layoffs a couple of years ago. So the first one, do you think that has any, I mean, we've seen in the US, that seems like that was definitely a thing when it was like, oh my God, everyone's staying home and people have, 24 hours a day to play games and watch movies and stuff. And we saw that on the streaming front. We saw that on the games front. And then when a lot of people had to go back to in-office stuff, everything kind of contracted.
Yeah, I mean, we've repeated that quite a bit. That I've brought up your video multiple times that you made back in The Escapist about all those studios that got funding during COVID.
9,000 views, by the way. Let me tell you.
And how many of them have release games or now been shut down, and how many of those? Quite a few of those had funding from NetEase.
Yeah.
So, I like the Liquid Swords one is interesting because they mentioned in their don't you do it? They mentioned in their report. They mentioned in the report that they basically didn't get the game out in time, and so like you get all this funding during the COVID years, you're still making that game. We're going on 5 years now post the start of COVID, 6 years almost. Mm-hmm. And if you still haven't put out that game, like you're not gonna get funding forever. And so I think some of these studios took too much time and are just kind of reaching the end of their, the money belt.
Yeah.
But yeah, like a lot of, obviously a lot of these studios did overhire, and that's where a lot of the layoffs are coming from a lot of these things. Like money got pumped in and it's dried up very quickly.
You would imagine though that the first like couple of years of constant layoff would have done that correction by now, right? Like it has not stopped since it's kind of started in this level of earnest. Like it feels like it. Is it ever gonna stop? I guess that's my question. Like, because
a lot of those games have come out and underperformed, so that's tied to that.
I know I have friends in the film and TV industry who the whole thing last year or two was survive to 25. It was like, these are bad years with strikes, with COVID, with deals restructuring, survive till 25. And as soon as the year started, they're like, this year is going to be just as bad, exist till 26. So it just seems like it is kicking the can. Like, I think everyone's, I don't know, it's like similar to how we kept talking about Microsoft being like, just give it one more year. Just give it 1 year. It feels like it's one of those, just give it one more year and then everything will be fine again. And I don't know how many years it's going to take saying that.
I mean, the lack of announcement of live service games, I think, will slow it down. It seems like feels like most of the big publishers have gone through it now, save for Ubisoft, and see what happens with Take-Two after, how does Borderlands 4 do? I think that's a big question. Because you guys even brought that up on Windbreakers, like Borderlands 2 sold very, very well. Is Borderlands 4 still relevant in 2025?
I just don't know. Yeah, I literally don't know that. Yeah.
Yeah, because 3 years ago I would have said hell yeah, but now we've had so many looter shooters and everything. I don't know. Like, is it going to sell?
Yeah.
Well, it's going to sell. I just don't know if it's going to hit 2 or 3 numbers. That's all.
Sure.
Especially like Wonderlands didn't sell gangbusters either.
Yeah, that almost felt like it just should have been a Borderlands game. Like, it feels like if you don't put the number after it, people assume something might be lesser and it's easier to skip out on something.
Yeah, the name's doing a lot of heavy lifting there because of like the history of Borderlands 2 in particular. Like, people love that game.
I also just continue to think the market is completely oversaturated. Like, I just when I did that Unpacked video last year, 15,000 games were released last year, a peak. And like, we're probably going to surpass that this year. Like, it's
what just more games out.
Like, how? There's no one around to make them.
They're all going indie and all making these projects, but they're all competing with each other, and it's like there's not enough space for all these games to be huge success stories. But then you also see a story like Mouthwashing today selling over 500,000 copies, which is huge for that game. So I don't. Like, not a game at all. I thought would sell 500,000 copies. So you're getting a lot of successes in like out there places right now. Some that are just pretty quiet. You don't even hear about them.
Yeah. Stop defining success as 100 million.
Yeah, well, that's
Like-
that's a thing I'm including in Unpack this week. Like, Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, like, Marty, you've read my thing, but Casey, what would you guesstimate that budget of that game was?
The budget for Kingdom
Yeah.
Come Deliverance 2. I want to say 70 million.
Somewhere between 40 and 50 million.
Ooh, that's surprising.
Which, well, yeah, it is until you think about the cost of living in the Czech Republic, which I looked up today. And it was like an average salary there on a USD is like $800 a month. And you can live comfortably on that.
Jesus.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, $100 million that game in the US costs maybe a third of that to make over in the Czech Republic. So,
Yeah.
Start exporting your devs to the Czech
Yeah.
Republic, I guess.
yeah, let's raise the cost of living there.
There you go. Yeah, so well, obviously, and Far Too Many Frogs. Also, I'm not going to read your full thing, but you had a great post in the Patreon that touched on a lot of stuff we talked about, including the sort of Chinese industry realizing maybe we don't want to have anything to do with the U.S. at this very moment. So that'll be interesting to look at going forward. And then sort of a tangential quick news bit before we get to the main topic is Niantic, the developer behind Pokemon Go, are in preparation, according to Bloomberg, to sell their games division for a $3.5 billion price tag is currently what's being reported. And it seems like the most likely buyer at this point is a Saudi-owned company called Scopely. And so Niantic is an interesting company because they were founded by folks who pioneered stuff like Google Maps and Google Earth. So they very much had they had like a finger on the pulse of that
Just
kind of
satellite.
technology.
Yeah, just satellite imaging and
Yeah,
mapping.
exactly. Yeah, and then transitioned over, made the company, got funding from the Pokemon Company and Nintendo and a little bit of Tencent and everything. Speaking of, but it seems like they want to divest themselves of their gaming arm to this Saudi company, and when they were like, well, what are you if you're not a gaming arm? They'd be like, well, we have all this data that we've collected from all of you fucking chumps trying to collect a Pikachu, and we want to get into AI, which is great. Love it. Love using my fucking Pokemon data to power AI, whatever the fuck that means. Any thoughts on this other than like, I don't know. There's not a whole lot for me to read into this other than I'm sure you're going to get a giant paycheck and a giant parachute to leave this company.
Just more corporate money passing around.
Yeah, this is surprising, but like maybe on a different level, not that surprising because Pokemon Go was like a global phenomenon. And usually when something is that big and then you stop hearing about it, it kind of just quietly makes money in the background.
Yeah.
So like I'm sure it's still like a very popular business model and like they've been making billions since. It seems odd though that they'd be willing to part with that for something as untested and unproven as AI development, unless
money.
they know that it's going on a downturn. Like maybe it was a huge deal, but like maybe it's been consistently tapering off and people have kind of gotten over it more and more as time has moved away from that boom period. So like maybe they're looking at it because we all know like there's been a lot of interest from Saudi investors to just enter the gaming market. Really not sure why. Like that remains a mystery to me. I don't know what the motivation is for that push from that side of the world. But yeah, they got money and like they're willing to basically give them $3.5 billion to save their presumably sinking ship after a while. So like, why not? And it almost feels like because they were sort of thrown this life raft, they're like, well, what the hell do we do? I hear AI's blowing up. So it's like they don't actually give a shit about it, is my guess.
Yeah.
It's like we just have to say we're doing it in order for our company to continue to exist.
They're interesting because since Pokemon Go, they've tried to replicate that with a lot of
a
brands.
bunch of other
There was
IPs.
a Harry Potter one, a Pikmin one, a Monster Hunter one.
Yep.
There was an NBA one, which
The Witcher one.
There was an NBA one?
yeah, there was an NBA one. That was an official Niantic one. And then non-Niantic stuff like the Witcher one, there's a Ghostbusters one. Like people have tried to sort of crib off that, and nothing has hit. Pokemon Go hit that summer and continued for a couple of years. Like it still was printing money, just wasn't talked about because it was kind of the, wasn't the
You might as well sell that thing off because now you got the mobile trading card game that's printing money. So.
Yeah, for the time being, and then it'll move. Something else will happen. Also, speaking of trading cards, guys, I think I might buy a bunch of Magic the Gathering cards
because of the Final Fantasy cards.
I think I might spend several $100s on these.
Have you ever played Magic the Gathering? Are you a fan?
No, I think it seems dumb.
I just need it.
Also, I hate the name Magic the Gathering. What does that mean?
That I've never thought about it. That is
what does Final Fantasy
title.
mean when there's 16 of them?
It doesn't matter. Look how cool Cloud looks.
Each one is the last one.
And Titus and Final Fantasy 14 boy. I don't know what their deal is, or girl. I'm gonna be honest. I'm not even sure what race that is, but I'm excited to find out. Look at that. Titus is kissing Yuna. I don't know. That's official art. Might be AI. Doesn't matter. I'm excited. But yeah, I'm gonna become a big card guy. So that's gonna be like in June. That's gonna become my thing. Don't worry. I burn through these very quickly. So I'll spend a bunch of money on it. I'll talk about it for like 2 weeks, and then you won't have to hear about it.
I'd be very interested in hearing you learn how to play Magic the Gathering.
Oh, that seems so hard.
Jesse plays it, so.
Oh,
yeah, Jesse does play.
So hard.
I guess you'll play it on the next Adventurers Night Shoot.
I'm not gonna play. I just want to collect the cards and look at them. I just want to look.
It's just gonna end up in your broken closet.
You can just do that online then. Why?
You just look at the
I can't touch them. I want to look at them and touch them. Eric knows what's going on.
Doesn't understand Balatro or card games, but then wants to buy.
I understand Balatro. I just think it's for chumps.
No,
your Balatro is just solitaire with a physical deck.
Exactly. Solitaire in Windows 95. That's my Balatro.
At least my totally real Jersey cards will be worth something someday.
What's a totally real Jersey card? Is that like reality
sports cards with like cut up jerseys and put them into cards so that you would have a piece of their jersey and they're like worth hundreds of dollars if they're legitimate.
What?
Is that real? You got a man's shirt on your card?
You guys never collected. Oh, you guys are nerds. You guys never collected sports cards.
I absolutely collected basketball cards. I just didn't
never
collect cards though.
Sports cards.
I don't care what kind of cards you're collecting. That's nerd shit to me.
Oh no! Here's my real men are on my cards. Look at him.
Autograph cards with jersey cards.
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
My guy has a big sword. Yours has what?
Wayne Gretzky. I had a piece of his shirt. Mario Lemieux. Holy smokes! I don't know why I'm giving you the David Lynch voice.
I have a signed Tom Brady card.
A Yazerback? Is that a name's been? Yazerback? Who's that? I think I might have been thinking of Yzerman. Yeah, he's got like a Y in his name.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think hockey's a dumb sport, and I laugh that everyone in Canada is booing the U.S. More power to y'all. Eric, our producer Eric, he used a monthly membership comment. I can't yell at him because he gets one a month. So it's impossible for me to yell at him. Said, wasting my free dono to say that Marty's lighting is setting the mood for Firelink. Is that so, Eric? Then why did you up it in my corner? How come I'm brighter than I was earlier? If I'm setting the mood, why did you have to change it? Why am I talking like Tucker Carlson now? That's strange.
You didn't.
If there's a Mother's Day, why isn't there a Father's Day?
Yeah, you gotta do the face though.
Thanks, Eric. Look, I'm dark again. This is nice. This feels great. And then Fungus Finder with a $2 dono. Thank you so much. Marty's buried like a pharaoh with his cards and F-Pops? Funko Pops. I don't have any Funko Pops.
I'm sure you have one somewhere.
I literally have never owned a Funko Pop.
I'm going to say
I'm not judging.
But no one has given you one? Because I get them all the time against my will.
From who?
From my friends. Like people who like, oh, you like this nerd shit, right?
Here you got a lot of enemies.
Why don't you just tell them no?
You got a bunch of
they're already giving it to me. I can't tell them to take this back with their hands.
Yeah, you can.
I think Eric may be too dark, by the way.
I think he's making you progressively darker.
Oh, yo, the cave. Play-Doh.
Dodger brings up a good point. Amiibos, your ultimate crutch.
No, people are great. Yeah, people
Those are
great,
good
though.
looking
Look,
though.
yeah, I got a little chibi robo. No one's ever made a goddamn Funko out of a chibi robo. Look, he's got a. I could put this in a light socket and see what
They
happens.
probably did make a Funko out of a Chibi Robo.
They may have made a chibi robo, but not chibi robo.
They made
may
a
have
Funko
like,
Chibi Robo.
Yeah, but no, like a robo that is chibi, not
No, like
real chibi robo.
probably this Chibi Robo. I don't know how they are allowed to do this, but they make a thing for everything.
We need to start firebombing offices more. If we want to see change in the world, we need to start throwing Molotov cocktails through windows.
That Funko Pops game did not sell.
I keep forgetting. I want to play that with Darren. I want to get
No, you
Darren's
don't.
thoughts on Funko Fusion.
Darren still need to have Darren play The Last of Us.
That's coming April 12th. Season 2's premiering.
Yeah, but when's Darren going to play?
Did you see they're going to break the second game into 3 seasons and then the show's
I
done?
did. That makes sense because the second game takes forever.
2 seasons makes sense. 3 seasons seems like a lot.
Yeah, well,
It's going to be like a completely different story from the sounds of what they're going for. Like they're changing a lot, perhaps.
Yeah, I imagine they want, without spoiling things, they want their stars in it for as long as possible. Let's just move on to the next topic. How about that? Before we spoil 2020's hottest game, most divisive game. We got new games. They've come out. A couple weeks ago, we had Kingdom Come. Obviously, that did gangbusters for you, Casey. And then this week, we got a double dose. We got Avowed, and we got Like a Dragon Pirate Yakuza in Hawaii. Pirate Yakuza in Hawaii was the subject of Yahtzee's Fully Ramblematic today. Check that out. And Avowed will be a Fully Ramblematic in the future. Have you guys had a chance to play either of these? Let's start with Avowed. Just that's Microsoft's Xbox's big first foray into 2025, a year that we're expecting them to have a pretty stellar lineup. This is Obsidian's latest game, the developer of Grounded and The Outer Wilds. This is kind of their take on fantasy. Have you got a chance to play it at all?
I put like an hour in, so I got out of the tutorial area, but that's it.
Did you get the parody? I got the parody.
I guess that's what it's called, right?
They call it Paradise, but it's spelled parody.
Parody's nuts yesterday.
Son of a bitch. I was going to talk about Parody is the name of the place in Attack on Titan.
Attack on Titan, yeah.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I put about 12 hours into the game.
That's a lot.
Yeah. I was kind of lukewarm on it, having just come off another RPG that I can't name now because Sir George Lucas put in the chat that a challenge, so I won't name it. I'll just refer to it as a medieval game. But I think I've talked about Obsidian before, where I'm not sure how I feel about their games because I didn't mind the Outer Worlds, but I wasn't like blown away by it or anything. Didn't put much time into Grounded. I think for me, like part of it's getting over that comparison of Obsidian to Bethesda. One, that you have to realize like this is not a systems driven RPG in any way. It's an action RPG. Everything's very static. You go here, do quests, come back, turn it in, all that kind of usual stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't totally blown away by the first area of the game. I found it was fun enough, but it wasn't like making me feel really engaged with the game. And then Jenna and I streamed the second area yesterday, and that area was immediately more interesting than the first area because a lot of it's funny there. I didn't find a whole lot. There's some funny quests in the first area too, but like the second area, you get into the second area, and the first thing you find is a farm with a bunch of undead people working on it, and you're like, what the hell's going on here? And the whole quest is basically like you go and talk to this woman, and she's like, yeah, like I've got the undead working my farm, and you're like, how do they feel about
labor?
That? Yeah. And you're like the whole RPG, like all the talking points, like, is that legal? Like, well, they're dead, I guess. So that quest was pretty funny. There was another one where basically this guy wants you to go get back his stolen food, and then you can basically decide like, no, these people need it more than you do, and he gets upset with you. And just the I don't know, like the writing quality just bumped up a lot for me in the second area. Even though I was streaming it, I was still laughing and having fun with it.
Cool.
So I think once you get past that kind of first area, it seems like it opens up a bit more, and the quests become more in style with the world, I guess, just more interesting and fun. Because I wasn't finding that fun in that first area. But I would say like the combat's really solid, and that was one of my biggest worries for it, is that the combat was going to be fun.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Casey.
No, I'm sorry. Yeah, I really only got to mess around with the melee stuff because they give you a lot of stuff in that open area to let you test it out, and it felt like a little stiff, I want to say at first, but after getting used to it, like it actually does feel kind of like weighty, like you, and like there's good reaction, like when you swing a thing and you hit a thing. And it's always funny to like knock somebody like halfway across the room, and they really kind of lean into that sort of thing. So yeah, those that all feels like a good foundation for like just getting you through like a fun adventure. I just don't know if I care about this adventure.
I cannot see you sticking with this game as a guy that does not much like fantasy stuff. And also and this game is so like, one of my problems with it is the lore of the game is so tied to Pillars of Eternity 1 and 2, which are completely different games. And if you have not played, like, you're kind of lost in a lot of the text that's being thrown your way. And there is like the encyclopedia, like if the words are highlighted, you can click X on your controller.
Let me say, I fucking love this.
Yeah,
and
I figured you did.
Yes. That's something Final Fantasy 16 did. I know that's something I think their previous games did. Pyre did that. I love being able to almost like hyperlink certain proper nouns and be like, what's going on here?
Yeah. So I mean, overzealous enthusiasts are put in the chat like, oh, there's homework. Like there is if you want there to be. I don't find it super necessary, but I also like. There's not a lot in the story that hooked me right away. I think the game's opening is pretty weak.
Yeah, I felt that. I would definitely need to give it more time before I like pass like a proper verdict on it.
Mm-hmm.
But I can agree that the opening does feel pretty weak and non-engaging. But the feel of the mechanics seem like they're on the right path. And as that stuff expands, you get like more powers, or whatever, because they let you pick one, like in that opening area, and I picked like the shield bash thing.
Yeah,
which is pretty fun. Like it's just fun to like bum rush people.
Ragdolls make every game better. My point still stands.
I'm about 2.5 hours into it, and I've been playing as a fucking wizard, and I have a wand and a grimoire, like a goddamn book, like a dictionary I opened up full of spells, and I just got a wand, like a fucking Harry Potter wand. In the other hand, I'm like, this is different. This doesn't feel like how Skyrim feels, where you got a sword and an axe or whatever. Like this feels a little different. I know all those games have magic, and I don't know shit about Skyrim, but I liked how this felt in that opening area, and I did like the world had like a different palette to it than the normal sort of dark.
Yeah, all the mushroom stuff.
And I like that it was colorful. Like it really, that key art that they've been showing for like the last year or two, that's been like really like, holy shit, this looks great. It feels like it's like the mushroom folk from The Last of Us, but like kind of chill. Like nice, like Easter Last of Us.
I just feel like I'm smacking around Grinder Bin all the time.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Is that box art guy in the game? Does that guy show up anywhere?
Maybe that could be you. Maybe that's the last shot of the game. It's like I've sacrificed myself, and you just become a tree.
I've become the Avowed.
Oh no, the Avowed. Yeah, I've been digging it. I like that it's on Game Pass. That just makes it a very easy, like low barrier to entry. I also don't think I'm gonna stick with it for 1 million hours, but I'm gonna play some more this weekend. So I think that's a relatively positive sign.
Yeah, it's definitely like once I got to the second area, just going on a little RPG adventures has kind of clicked in finally. The first area did not feel like that.
Exactly. We got a couple Patreon comments about this as well. Blistered Soul at the $5 tier. Thank you so much, Blistered Soul. Do you think that some of the more tepid responses to Avowed are audience expectation of Obsidian as an RPG studio? Being more of an action game and light on RPG elements, it's another example of trying to reach a broader market appeal over deeper mechanical complexity. I know it feels like one big thing has been not the developers, but people, press, YouTubers being like, is this their Skyrim? And we did the same thing. We'd be like, oh, Outer Worlds is to Fallout as Avowed is to Skyrim. And the way I would always use it is more of a shorthand of like, this is the tone of this world. Instead of being like kooky sci-fi, it is high fantasy. And I didn't mean in terms of like, oh, this is going to be 100 hours and you can do whatever you want and go wherever you want. Like, I always assumed this would be like a relatively not massive open world game.
Yeah, I mean they've been saying that almost since this reveal. They're like, hey, we're not trying to be Skyrim. We're keeping its scope in check. It's not a systems driven game. It's an action RPG with choices, I guess.
I mean, they can say that, they can like give that primer, but like I don't feel like that's the press or the public's fault for drawing those similarities, because like they were known as the B Bethesda studio. Like they made the other game following Bethesda's game, and then they immediately made a game like that game, but not. And then the next thing they do is a game like the other game, but not like.
So,
of course, that comparison was going to get drawn.
You're referring to like New Vegas, which wasn't Fallout 4, but they did New Vegas and then did Outer Wilds or Outer Worlds. God damn it!
Like,
how did I still?
Like they could have made this game with these systems or whatnot in any other setting. They chose, from what I can tell, to put it in Pillar of Eternity because they wanted not just a fantasy setting, but a fantasy setting that had some history. Like it had some built-in audience, right? So one, they wanted to do fantasy, which was basically just adjacent to the Bethesda Skyrim stuff. But they also didn't want to make up their own. So like, I don't know. I don't feel like them saying like I don't feel like that's on anyone else other than them. Like they wanted that comparison.
Maybe, I mean, if you've only heard of them from Fallout New Vegas, all of the rest of their games are not systems-driven RPGs. Fallout New Vegas is the only game that's like a Bethesda game from them.
But wasn't that like their biggest game?
Well, I mean, they came from, they did Star Wars: Knights of the Old Republic 2. Like they did all kinds of CRPGs on PC with Pillars of Eternity, Tyranny.
But which one was the biggest though?
I'm sure Fallout New Vegas was.
Gotta be grounded. People like being a little dude running around a garden.
Yeah, I mean, Grounded's sold more than all of them. To be honest,
I didn't even realize that could be right.
If that's true, that's insane because I don't hear anybody talking about effing Grounded.
You're not running around your garden. You're too busy playing Smash.
Survival crafting game. Of course, it was going to do better than a CRPG.
That's really depressing. Chico Days as well in the Patreon. Thank you so much, Chico Days. Said, having played close to 30 hours in the early access period, I've had a great time so far in Avowed. I appreciate that while there was less companions than Outer Worlds, they were individually, they had more to say across all the content. Admittedly, the setting feels like the most lackluster aspect and requires familiarity to really care. So I guess that does feel like a drawback to me where it's like you kind of need, which we'll talk about a little bit with Pirate Yakuza as well, whether that kind of baggage of what came beforehand is necessary to enjoy a thing. And we talk about that a lot when a game comes out, like Final Fantasy, the 7 remake project of like, can I just jump in or do I need to have fucking 25 years worth of dumb JRPGs under my belt? Dumb, positively.
Yeah. I mean, overall, I'm enjoying my time with Avowed. I'm just a little bit, I guess not as wowed by it, just having come off medieval game because
I think it's bad. I think it's bad time. I think Avowed should have came out like mid-January. Yeah, like a nice mid-January slot.
Because the systems driven aspects of medieval game made the world feel so alive and moving, and the quests were so open ended. Like it really felt like an RPG to me, where this doesn't, aside from dialogue options again.
I know you're not allowed to say the name of the game, but I will, because Filthy and Free Publishing in the Patreon also asks for Nick and anyone else who's played it. This is just a Nick question. What is your favorite dice combo in Kingdom Come Deliverance 2? I'm rocking 5 odd and 1 favorable and haven't lost a round in days. What does that mean?
So there's a mini game in Kingdom Come Deliverance called Dice, and throughout the world, you can collect all these different types of die that have different stats
numbers
to them. Yeah, there's like not different numbers. They all the same numbers, but like some are like weighted differently because they're built to cheat kind of thing. So you can find all kinds of unique dice in that way. Man, I can't remember what I was using, but I had like two. I don't remember. I have to go look at it. I'll answer your question on Patreon.
There you go.
But it wasn't very good because I lost a lot of money and then I beat up the guy and took my money back. So
that's like the game, like a Kingdom Comes version of Gwent a little bit,
yeah,
like
kind
a
of,
big,
yeah.
yeah.
It's just it's a gambling game. But then so when I beat that guy up, I stole not only his money, I also stole his clothes. And then he came back to the bar the next night, like basically in his underwear, and that was funny as fuck. And then I started to sit down and play him again. He's like, "No, you stole my shit. Go away."
Yeah.
Yeah, understandably, if we're being honest, like you said, it's a gambling game, and then you're like, I committed a crime.
Well,
Like, guys, it
you
sounded like a
gambled by
gambling-
playing with me.
There you go. I guess that's that. Yeah, it's the big.
Like, I would love it if in a game you do that sort of thing where, like, okay, I'm playing the gambling mini game or whatever. You win a bunch of money, and then they try
They
to kick
do
your
that to
ass.
You
Yeah.
leave the bar, and they're like, "We're just gonna beat the shit out of you." Take the money back
I'm
and
pretty
stuff.
sure
Yeah.
they can do that in Kingdom Come.
Yeah, I love it. Games are dumb. The other speaking of dumb games, the other game that came out this week, Like a Dragon, Pirate Yakuza in Hawaii.
Great title.
Incredible title. What are they doing? I'm so confused every time. I'm like, what order do I say these words in? This is a sort of a side story, a Gaiden to Like a Dragon, a follow up to the 8th proper game in Infinite Wealth last year. This one takes place after Infinite Wealth, reuses a lot of the Honolulu setting, but also has, as you can tell by the title, a pirate theme to it, including naval battles and developing getting a crew and a bunch of pirate musical numbers. And this one stars Majima, the wild dog. Let me tell you, Majima, he's a hoot and a half. You know who he was originally voiced by? Mark Hamill.
No. What? Really?
In the original Yakuza, Mark Hamill.
Huh.
Yeah.
Find a video of that.
He does not do it. He probably just sounds like Joker. To be honest.
That's so rude.
What?
Mark Hamill's a great voice actor.
He does. What do you think
has a
Majima sounded like?
He has a distinguished voice
Dude,
actor voice though, but
Majima
he's not
also
always
sound-
Joker.
But if you have you played the games? Because Majima is like literally the Joker.
He's just Joker. Okay, well,
Listen, I'm not saying it's bad. Like, find a pitch, find your speed, and just fucking throw that ball. Mark Hamill's throwing that ball, and it's called the Joker. But
he's Fire
yeah.
Lord Ozai. Like, he's got range.
Yeah, it sounds like Little Prince of Crime right there. Why do people keep bringing up Avatar to me? I brought up
Have
Mick
you
Foley, and they were like, "Did you know he was in Avatar?" I'm like, "I do." He also got thrown off the Hell in a Cell by goddamn Undertaker. Why are we talking about that?
I gotta rewatch that match.
Oh my god, it's great. It's nuts. It's nuts. They almost kill that man. He just keeps going.
He likes it.
He does like it, just like Majima. He should voice Majima. Get Mark Hamill out of here.
I assume you like this game a lot.
I do like this game. I forgot we were talking about the game. I thought we were talking about Mick Foley's matches. It's a bad moment when Nick has to get us back. I've enjoyed this game quite a bit. I'm 15 hours into it. I've been doing a lot of the side stuff, but this is definitely a shorter game than Infinite Wealth. A lot of people have asked, do you need to play any of the previous games? I don't think you need to have played Infinite Wealth, because Majima's whole story in this game is he just has amnesia and he washes up on an island and he doesn't know who he is, and he's like, fuck it, I'm gonna become a pirate. Like a straight up pirate. I'm gonna commandeer the ship, I'm gonna make friends with this local kid, and me and him and his pet tiger are just gonna go sail the seas around Hawaii. And so by the mere fact that your main character, our audience avatar, has amnesia, that kind of is like a nice gateway of like, you don't need to know. Granted, things from his past will come, and if you've played, Infinite Wealth or Like a Dragon proper or the previous games, you'll kind of pick up on a little bit more, understand why the world is the way it is. This game is a departure from the last two in that it is not a sort of turn-based RPG like Infinite Wealth and 7 were. This is a return to sort of the real-time action.
Last two, are you forgetting the man who forgot his name or whatever?
The man who was not the man who erased his name, and also there was the one that was like the Gaiden one. Yeah, I guess I meant last two.
There's been like
proper
8
ones
in the last 2 years.
So when did they do that split? Because it was Yakuza here, and then they split the franchises in terms of gameplay, and then started calling one of them one name, then the other one the Japanese name, which is Like a Dragon.
So yeah, so
now
in
they're all
Japan they
together.
were always called Like a Dragon, and
Right.
they called them Yakuza here up through 6. And then 7, which was the first one that was like the
turn-based
character
stuff.
departure. It had Ichiban and was a turn-based one. They just called that game Like a Dragon. And so
then
it's like
in
Yakuza
Japan, did
7.
they call that one Yakuza?
Maybe they called it Like a Dragon 7. I actually don't know. That'd be really confusing. And then Infinite Wealth is Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth, but the Infinite is an 8, so it's the 8th Yakuza game. Like those are the mainline ones. Whereas
and
this,
that one stays with the turn-based motif.
correct, and people don't know what's happening next with the franchise because they also showed off a little bit. If you remember, when they showed off the new Virtual Fighter, they also showed off a little bit of like RGG Studios also working on this, and it was like, remember that like fake ass,
this.
like
Yeah, that's super
no,
fake.
no
Yeah.
combat's ever going to look like this. So we don't know what the next proper
We're
game
making
is
that
gonna be.
Project Century game too.
Project Century. That's the one that is seemingly using a lot of the assets as Virtual Fighter. But yeah, in terms of Pirate Yakuza in Hawaii, I do think this is a really good pirate game, which is one thing that I know people like. I know Yahtzee and I really like. But in the same way that Black Flag felt like, oh, you took the Assassin's Creed formula that I like and you really piratized it. This does that with Yakuza and Like a Dragon. If you like that formula and that tone and those eccentric side quests and the bizarre mini games, it's that, but with that pirate coat of paint. And like the naval battles don't get particularly deep. I wouldn't say they even get as deep as Black Flag did, 10, 15 years ago. But like they really kind of put their heart into the pirate of it all in a way that I really like, while also still marrying it with a modern day Honolulu. So you spend part of the game sailing the seas and doing these naval battles, and then another part of the game just running around Honolulu and like riding a Segway and making friends with people.
This game is so weird.
It's a weird game.
I'm like, man, I started it, but I think I screwed myself a little bit just playing Yakuza 1 through 4 all back to back because I still have not gotten over that fatigue.
It's a tough. It's
they
a
all
strange
play the
thing.
same unless you're really into the story.
I mean, it's
And-
kind of like Call of Duty, right? Like it's turned into this annualized thing where like fundamentally it feels like a very similar thing. And the question is only, do you want to do this thing in World War II or the Cold War or whatever? And in these games, do you want to do this thing, but with a different character and a different story? It is interesting that it is like carrying the torch. I guess also kind of like what Assassin's Creed, how it used to be on an annual basis and is now kind of moved a little bit away from that. Feels very similar to that. They're very economical in how they use their.
They are.
Yes.
I would say like I wish they would just update not how you move through the world, but I don't know, like that loop of do combat and then get into really long dialogue, then go to combat and real long dialogue, and that's like the mini games are all supposed to break that up so that you're not into that loop. But like if you don't really care for all the mini games like me, and these games are really hard to get through once you played 4 or 5 of them, which even Yahtzee mentioned in his review. It's like, the ship stuff was enough to set it apart for him, but I can definitely tell, like, just if I tried to go back and play Judgment, and I'm like, that stupid pink marker I gotta look at on my map. You're upsetting me already.
Yeah, no, I totally get that. These don't feel like games that should be binged. They feel like games or binged like back to back to back. They feel like
I binged them 3 years ago and I'm still burnt.
But that's the thing is like they almost feel like games that should be played like once a year as they come out. But now I feel like they're coming out more than once a year, which makes it
so many.
Yeah, they're putting out a lot of these, and they all seem to be. Well, you said this one is a lot shorter than some of the mainline ones, but there's still like a lot of stuff to do in them.
Yeah, there's a
So
lot
like,
of
it's a lot of the same kind of content, and they are putting out like 2-3 different versions over the course of like the same number of months.
Yeah.
You think
I
we're
will
gonna
say
get
this
Judgment 3?
This is also arguably the funniest AAA game we have. I will never grow tired when you get into combat. Flames appear on screen and the words, like the name of your adversaries, show up. And so it might be like local thugs or Yakuza members. Sometimes it'll be more specific. One popped up and just said Keith.
Yep.
the name Keith. I'm like, I guess I have to fight Keith now. One popped up and said Captain Beef. And I was like, I don't know who this man is, but I'm excited to fight Captain Beef. And then one popped up and it just said assholes.
Yeah,
I'm like, this is genuinely like this is the only game where every time I get into combat, I'm excited to see like what are these men named? Keith, Captain Beef, and assholes. I'm simple, and that made me laugh. So that was lovely.
No, that's pretty funny.
That's good. That is good stuff. Insomnia Inc. over in the Patreon asked, so I never played a Yakuza game. What's a good entry point into the series? They look fun, but I don't know if it's my thing, but I am willing to try. Anyways, keep up the awesome work. Thanks, Insomnia Inc. Yeah, I was going to say, Nick, I mean, don't do what Nick did and play a million of them. But yeah, if you want to start like where the story starts, Yakuza 0. Which is kind of an open world action game, a micro open world action game. If you want something that's more turn-based combat, I would say Like a Dragon, which is the 7th Yakuza game that came out in 2020, is a good entry point. That's a brand new main character, fresh combat system. That also feels like a good thing. But also, if you just want a little bit of pirate shenanigans, you can jump in here. You can meet Keith and Captain Beef. Look at
like half of what Eric is showing on screen looks nothing like either Yakuza's or Pirates. Like it's the most random
It's always ever. You fight in Yakuza 7, you fight a bunch of men in baby diapers.
Yeah.
I'll never forget that scene.
Yeah.
These really do just look like a great time, if I'm being honest.
I highly prefer the turn-based combat these days just because there's so much more variety, in my opinion.
The turn-based combat is they did it really well. It moves really fast. Like it is it is the there's the baby man. It is the Dragon Quest formula, but like up to 11. But yeah, I think it's mostly, do you want real-time combat or do you want turn-based combat? I will also say I got to a side quest where, so the whole game, your sidekick is this kid, and the kid's he keeps saying, "This is my cat," and it's clear they're like a baby tiger. But the baby tiger like follows you around. He'll help you in combat. He'll occasionally give you items. You can feed him and stuff. And in a side quest, I met a crazy scientist who was like, "I've developed a way for you to speak to your animals." and Maji was like, "Fuck, like really?" He's like, "Yeah, you both need to put these helmets on, and you will be able to talk to your friend." And we put the helmets on, and then a voice came. And Maji was like, "Is Goro? Is that you? That's the name of the cat." He's like, "It is. I've been meaning to tell you, Majima, I love you." And it's like keeps going on to where the cat's like, "No, seriously, I would love for us to be in a relationship. I love you." And you're like, "Fucking, well, this is a little weird. Like you're just my pet." And then it turns out you see behind the tree, the scientist is speaking. It's like such an amazing side quest, and then you're like, "I got to beat up the scientist because he tricked me into falling in love with the cat." An extremely dumb game, but like every time something like that happens, I'm like, you guys got character. I like.
There's a stupid little side quest in Zenless Zone Zero that is surprisingly similar to exactly that. Like some character tells you that they invented a way for you to talk to like the stray dogs and cats, and you go around talking to the stray dogs and cats, and then realize that like, no, they were fucking with you. Like this shit is not.
I wonder
real.
if this is like a thing. This is like a. This is like a trope or something that we just don't know about.
There's even a quest in Kingdom Come like that. Not animal wise, but basically you convince a guy you're Satan.
See, I like that. I like getting into side quests and be like, I didn't expect this to happen.
Yeah.
And a side quest that doesn't take itself too seriously. As much as I love taking yourself seriously, sometimes I just goof off a little bit. It's fine. I'm not gonna call the serious cops. And if anyone does call the serious cops, tell me. I'll have a word with them. Yahtzee's the serious cops. Before we get into the other stuff we've been playing, I thought this comment from Jax over in the Patreon was interesting. It was, how come publishers don't market their games long after launch? It's usually leading up or to maybe a week after launch, but there's nothing after that. Is there little ROI? And I thought that was interesting because that is something we are even guilty of, is we tend to be like, this is the hot new thing, but now we got to move on and we can't talk about this thing anymore. And I know, Casey, like you have firsthand experience with that kind of stuff. What do you make?
Well, he works at a live service game. That thing never goes away.
I mean, there's that. But no, I do not know that answer, and I I feel tempted to ask someone who might like. I'm gonna like see if I can email someone from marketing and just ask that little question, because that's a very, very interesting thing. Because I don't understand the logic of that, I guess. But maybe it's just a resource thing. Like you create a thing, you sell that thing, and then like you have that sweet spot of like it's brand new, it's hotness. Therefore, that's when you're gonna get the bulk of your sales, and then the long tail afterwards kind of just takes care of itself. Because if you spend even more money to market the other thing, like maybe you'll get a bump, but like it's gonna maybe hit the same demographic who would have either responded or not to the first bump, is my guess. So like resources just better spent focusing on the new thing, because you are making a new thing. Like if you only ever make one thing, in that case, it probably makes sense to keep going back to the well. So that's my guess.
As somebody that does all of our social media promotion, it's annoying to have to go back and keep remarketing your old stuff.
Also, it's just
especially when you have new stuff coming, right?
Yeah.
It's also just like when we post a video, we tend to get a bulk of the views within the first day, 2 days, 3 days, that kind of thing. And occasionally we'll get a thing like Javed's excellent Metal Gear Untold or Metal Gear the Kojima video, which had a really long tail and which like didn't do crazy numbers at start, but has picked up steam and over time crossed 100,000 views and everything. And so it's always cool to see that. And I feel like sometimes we get that with games. A lot of times something comes out and we just talk about what its first week, month sales were, and then we forget about it. But then other times it's like, oh, this thing kind of tugged along for a couple months or years, and over time kind of became like a really quiet success.
Yeah, word of mouth.
It entering different subscription services. Like I'm sure people see a bump. Yeah, if a Markiplier or someone plays it, or if it suddenly is on Game Pass, then you can see a bump there. But that's something I want to get better at, is realizing that like you could talk about games in the week or two like afterwards. Is like
I can mention Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 a year from now.
I mean, I thought you said you couldn't say the name of the game.
Fuck.
Now you've said it several times. But I'm just saying, like, as people are still playing these things, like there's that whole subreddit of like patient gamers, of folks like, oh, I finally got around to
that subreddit,
Tears of the Kingdom or whatever, and I'm really enjoying it. So
that subreddit gives me super bad FOMO though, because
that's the thing, is that's the opposite. It doesn't want you to do that.
Well, it does, because I'm like, I've tried this game like 6 times and I still can't see why you like it, but I want to like it.
Yeah, we can just become comfortable not liking everything. I think
Looking at you, Hollow Knight.
Yeah. Well, no, that's weird. You're weird for not liking it. And Dower Dodger over in the chat, been a member for a year. Thank you so much, Dower Dodger, said going back to your side quest, necromancers are just skirting labor laws. I mean, listen, what if necromancers became our game developers?
We'll learn about animancers once you get to the next area.
Is that like an animal mancer?
They're
cartoons?
Not. They mess with your soul. Necromancers just fuck around with your dead body. The animancers actually like fuck with your soul.
Ooh, can the animancers and the necromancers work together and just bring a person back?
I made a whole ass man. Look at this. He's got everything.
Hey, look, he's back.
He's back.
I don't know what happens if you combine those two. There might be a reason why they don't.
We're gonna find out. Aside from Avowed and Like a Dragon, Nick, have you been playing or watching anything else?
Yes. So I have been trying to find an extraction shooter that I like for the longest time, because I feel like all of them are extremely either hardcore or annoy the shit out of me with their menus, because I hate playing Tetris menus in games while I'm getting shot at. I hate it. It drives me insane. So I was in the playtest for Exoborn this past weekend, which we actually saw at GDC last year. We kind of came away, Jay and I saw it, and we both kind of came away like, maybe it was like, doesn't look that unique. But actually, after I played the playtest, I'm like, actually, I really liked it. I played almost 10 hours of the playtest over the weekend.
What's its hook?
So it's an extraction shooter. So it's PvPvE. So there's bandits and other enemies throughout the world, and then there's other players, and you're basically going into the world, completing objectives and trying to get out with loot that you can sell, and then you get to upgrade your gear and you go back and you're more powerful. So a little bit of a mix of like battle royale, and then trying to evacuate with your loot before you're taken out or before the world kills you. So there's quite a few things I like about this. One, it's very streamlined. So as I was saying with like Hunt Showdown, or not Hunt Showdown, but like Escape from Tarkov, for example, has like a whole body injury system that you have to keep track of. Like you have to bandage up your fingers if you get shot, whatever, like all this little detail stuff that you need to pay attention to. And Exoborn kind of strips all that out to really keep it basic. So you have different ammo types, but they're not like annoying to the point where like, oh, I have like fire shells or electric shells and different. You'd have different ammo types. And then like when you pick up loot, the game organizes it for you in your inventory, so you very quickly can scour something, put it in, and keep moving. The matches are only 20 minutes long, so you never feel like you're coming out of it wasting a lot of time. And then the movement mechanics are like actually really fun. You have like an exosuit, so these exosuits have different abilities that you can do, and then you can basically use a glider as well. And you've probably seen the trailer on screen, or if you're not, like a big hook of the game is weather. And so like you're in this like dome area that like this weird tower controls the weather, and so sometimes you get like electrical storms. You have to watch out for lightning trying to hit you, or you get like these big tornadoes, and if they go over a gas station or explosives, they turn into these nasty fire tornadoes. But then you can use like updrafts in the environment to use your glider to get across the map quickly. So it's like nice, fast pace, and more casual than a lot of other extraction shooters, which is what I've been looking for with a loot system that doesn't annoy the hell out of me. So both Jay and I played it, and we both had a actually really good time with it. And I'm not sure if it's going to be free to play or not. It feels more like a premium game, but I think there's a chance this one does okay.
I'm trying to figure out from the footage Eric's showing, is it first person or third person?
So it's third person, but then when you're shooting, it goes into first person.
What?
So like when
you aim down the sights?
Yeah, it just goes into first person when you aim down the sights, and then goes out of first person when you're done aiming. So you can shoot from the hip, which stays in third person, or if you want to aim.
That's weird, right? Like it's not normal.
PUBG kind of did it.
That weird.
Yeah, PUBG did it.
Okay. It's unusual, but there are
I just
other
don't think
instances.
I've played a game like that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Can you wall run?
I don't. Maybe I don't know if I didn't get the exosuit that maybe lets you do that. You can do like this cool double jump off a wall, which is neat.
That's pretty cool. I just like wall running.
So yeah, it's a really solid game from what we've played so far.
Casey, do you have any desire to jump into this?
From what I'm looking at, the weather stuff definitely seems the most interesting. But I would probably want to see that in a different game and not this game.
Exoborn, I think Exoborn's got a real bland name going for it.
It does have a bland name.
It has a bland look. I'm sorry to say too. Like it just doesn't really stand out with the suits and the gray post-apocalypse.
It's actually not that gray in the post-apocalypse, and like even when there are storms, like it's like purple the atmosphere and all that. Purple
was good. Purple,
it's actually a pretty nice looking game when you're in there.
All right, I mean, more power to him. This does feel like it's late to the party. Like I know extraction shooters aren't, like live service, battle royale, but like it does still feel like it's a tail end of just all of these sorts of things.
I don't think there's really been a extraction shooter that's hit the more casual market yet. Not one that I can really think of. Like all of them are very, very much catered towards the hardcore market.
You just wait for fair game dollar signs.
That's a heist game. That's not an extraction game.
That's all the fun.
What's a heist if not an extraction?
Think about it. You get the loot and you got to get out of there. That's an extraction.
True.
Ocean's 11.
That's fair.
I don't know.
What it's called again? It's called Exoborn.
Like, we'll see how it does. It just doesn't seem like it leaves an impact from what it's showing.
Yeah, kind of like Concord. I thought Concord had really good gameplay, just didn't have that unique aspect to it.
Mhm.
This one kind of same boat, but also it's not a hero shooter, so it has that going for it. So I don't know. I think pretty much everybody that I've talked to that's played it likes it, which is a good sign. Whether it can break in or not, I don't know.
I mean, that's how everyone felt about the finals.
The finals is still doing okay.
Is it?
Yeah.
You should put a
All right.
dollar sign at the end of its name. That's how you know you're doing okay. We'll have more on Exo. Is that set to release this year? Do you know?
It's set to release this year. They just first this playtest just wrapped up, and now there's another a bigger private playtest that's starting up. That's going to last for like a month.
Playtest.
So I imagine, it's probably not too far off from release.
Cool. Do you think they'll change the name?
No.
Okay. What if
you get an exo seat and you're up in the or exo suit and you're up in the air a lot with your glider. So Exoborn.
Yeah, well, Exoprimal was called Exoprimal because it had an exosuit and it had dinosaurs, and that game doesn't exist anymore.
Just put an S at the end, Exoborns, and make it a dollar sign. Problem
We'll
solved.
call it Bloodborns.
Or Exoborn X, like Siege
See if Sony remembers and gets mad at you. Because they might not. Maybe they forgot. Casey, have you been playing or watching anything?
Still can't talk about what I've been playing, but I did join my fiance who had started up that series on Netflix, The Gentleman.
yes.
And then we ended up binging that together. It's a fun show. It sounded very Guy Ritchie, only to learn that it was Guy Ritchie. So
I was going to say I have a
Yep.
clue as to why it sounds Guy Ritchie.
So I was like, okay, yeah, that makes sense when the credits came up. But I thought it was a fun time. Like I liked the characters and the scenarios and whatnot. And because of that, like it's kind of short as well. Like it doesn't like overstay its welcome. But me and the fiance were kind of jonesing for like more just British crime, I guess. So like Nick had mentioned, Gangs of London was like something that we might be into, and like we recognized like the main guy from Peaky Blinders, which we also liked a ton. More London crime. So yeah, we jumped into Gangs of London. We jumped into Gangs of London, and I'll be honest, it's way more violent than I was expecting.
Oh yeah.
Like it is.
I told you the opening scene.
Yeah, and even after you described it, like like looking at it was still just way more. Like they just like they really like their violence. So in looking into who made it, I think you mentioned it before, but I looked it up again. It's the guys who did The Raid, and that is very evident in like their fights choreography and their action in general. Like it's shot super well. Like it's just really cool how they frame the stuff they're doing. Yeah. But I will say I think it might be too violent.
It is very over the top.
Yeah, like
very over the top.
Like I talked about Monkey Man a couple weeks back and how the extreme violence in that movie felt like it served a purpose, because I'm in general I'm not like I like watching fight choreography. I'm not necessarily like a big fan of like gore and like violence and stuff, but like I like fight choreography.
John Wick does a good job of like great choreography without like ultra violence.
Exactly. Whereas Monkey Man did use ultra violence with some cool choreography, but it felt purposeful. Like it felt like a release of anger in terms of like the character and the story and everything that was going on. Gangs of London is like, these MFers are crazy. Like everybody involved is just batshit insane. You don't need to do this to the person you are trying to kill. It's just so over the top.
They do a lot of, I shot you 3 times, let me shoot you 80 more times. it's really
wild.
Sure.
It's wild.
I appreciate that.
And you know what? I get why they do that, because some characters don't die when they should.
What, did you finish the whole first season?
Yeah, the whole first season.
The guy on the docks
in the farm.
That's the funniest.
Oh, the
fucking
docks.
scene.
Okay.
Yeah. Well.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. That same scene, but like, yeah, several characters just don't die when they should die.
He got shot like 80 times in the back, and he's still like, peace, yeah. It's good. Yeah. Season 2 is even more ridiculous. So,
yeah, I'm on episode 1 of season 2 now. We just finished that.
I actually just started season 2
are you gonna,
a couple days ago.
Are you going to continue? Like you said, it might be like too violent.
It is absolutely too violent for my taste, at least. But it does tell a fun enough story. and it's also dumber than I thought it would be. Like I thought it would be a little more
Eyebrow.
like sensical. I get highbrow maybe is a better word in terms of just like the plot and the narrative stuff. But like some of the situations are just kind of dumb. But like clearly it's because they just want to get a character from like point A to point B, and I'm fine with it. Like because a lot of the characters are very likable.
Yeah. Yeah, the cast is really good.
Yeah, like everyone's a piece of shit, but some of them are just fun pieces of shit. Like you get behind their version, their level of shit. So it's a really fun time, and because of this, since we're gonna be done soon, because like it's only like 8 episodes in the second season, my fiance has agreed to go back and watch Warrior with me because she's jonesing for like more like it. And I was like, "Ooh, if you like this, you'll love Warrior." And she made a bet, $50 if she doesn't like it, $50.
Where's my cut?
Warrior finder's fee.
Yeah,
like she will
a referral fee.
I can't like unless my fiance is a racist, I can't imagine she won't like Warrior.
Also, if you find that, it's good to find out right before the first of 2 weddings. That's good,
right? Just useful all around.
Did you say you did watch Peaky Blinders or not yet?
Yeah, I did.
Okay, I was gonna say Peaky Blinders is very different from both of those shows.
Yeah, it's a lot more highbrow. Like that's kind of and because it's got the same kid in it. Like he's like one of the Shelby brothers in this, but he's like the lead in this. So like that's kind of the main reason why we're like drawn to it in the first place. But like it's dumber than Peaky Blinders. Peaky Blinders is a lot smarter of a series.
Yeah, I was also taken back by. I mean, Gangs of London like reminds me of like John Wick with all like the shadow government stuff and all that. So
they do start to they very much lean into that eventually.
It's so ridiculous that like, but it's still fun to watch.
Also, it should be called like Gangs of the World because it's really not just London.
Yeah, there's people from Kurdistan fighting here.
Yeah, like this. At no point was this localized to London.
Gangs are everywhere. Just change the name every season. Give it a new name. Of that. You've been watching or playing anything else?
I think that's it. How about you, Marty?
I talked about a bunch of stuff I've been watching on the Rewind yesterday, so you could check that out. We talked about the new Captain America movie and still chugging away at Severance and The Pit and Paradise, which are 3 shows I'm still enjoying quite a bit. Paradise, let me tell you. That is junk food garbage, and I love it.
That's Sterling K. Brown, right? Yeah,
yeah. The show by the showrunner of. They're just playing at a barbershop.
Yeah, they were binging it while I was getting my haircut. I'm like,
they're gonna get spoiled. Here? You can't watch it at a barbershop. They're gonna spoil it. This is by the showrunner of This Is Us, which was also kind of the thing that put Sterling K. Brown on the map for me, at least. But it's really good. He plays a Secret Service agent who's he's the like main man guarding the president, played by James Marsden. There's a little bit of a twist. I don't want to spoil it because the whole premise of the show is a spoiler, and you get what the premise is after the first episode. But it is schlocky in a really good way that I'm really enjoying. And I don't know where Red Hulk is. He's not protecting Red Hulk. Red Hulk doesn't need anyone.
That's a different president.
Red Hulk does not need protection. He just gets angry, and then when he thinks about his daughter, he's not angry anymore. God, I fucking hated that movie. I can't believe Jack liked that movie. It is nuts to me. What is going on? Once a year, Jack and I just disagree so vehemently on something, and Jack takes me to my core.
Jack won't watch the actual good Star Wars shows and then hates Star Wars.
I respect that, though.
He's just tired. It's okay.
I respect it.
But he still watches Marvel movies.
As an old man who's tired, I respect it. I just don't get that one. But then on the play front, been playing a couple things. I saw someone, Angel Nikki asked about if any of us played Elden Ring Night Rain. The multiplayer expert of the 3 of us, Marty, got to play a little bit of Elden Ring Night Rain. I only played 3 rounds. I tried to play more. It was difficult to get into over the weekend, and I played with randos. So all of this take with a grain of salt. It took me probably 2 of the matches to just get on the speed of the game, because the way I play these games is I like puttering around and seeing what's going on and taking my time, and you can't, because goddamn Night Rain is coming. And that is like, that's the fucking the cone of battle slowly coming in for you. So you need to keep moving. You and your team need to keep moving, or else the cone of evil will fall in and you will die. And so A, that's just not the speed I play these games, which was a little weird. B, I was playing with randos who felt a little sweaty and felt like they were getting mad at me as I was getting my bearings. But by the time I got to the third one, No, I'm not gonna talk
You
to
think
these
Marty
men.
would talk? To
Yeah, I would have been
You think
surprised.
I would
if
talk
you
to
had.
strangers? What are you talking
So,
about?
You mean we talk
Like
to
were they
strangers every day?
emoting that? I'm not sure how you picked up that they might be getting like.
Oh, I got
upset
it
at
was
you.
just a vibe. They didn't like the fact that I was like futzing around with different abilities to like see what's going on. However, I do like the abilities. Like FromSoft's getting wild out here. So you don't create a character; you choose a sort of like an archetype. The archetypes feel they're familiar to the Elden Ring players, except they really like lean in with some strange abilities. And so as someone who leans kind of sorcerer and mage in these games, I played a class called a recluse that was firing off spells and everything, but the strange abilities they had, one was a passive ability where you mark an enemy and they have this like red mark on them for a little while, and any damage that is done to them in that mark will end up siphoning into you. So like if you and your crew are about to like really fuck up a dude with a bunch of attacks, you can mark them and then you can siphon a shit ton of the energy back. So you're causing them damage and you're gaining your HP and FP back. And there's also another similar thing where you kind of collect like magic residue from enemies and from the environment, which you could then use to use like these crazy fucking AoE spells that's like way wilder than anything that was in core Elden Ring. So I feel like if I was playing with like if the three of us played, or if any combination of the three of us played, I feel like I could have fun if we were more on the same speed. So I am curious about this. I think this is for a relatively niche portion of the Elden Ring crowd. I know like multiplayer has become a big thing. I do think it's going to be relatively niche compared to core Elden Ring, or just compared to what people expect from Souls games. So
Yeah,
I got the sense that it was
completely
aiming for a
different
more
audience.
casual.
Yeah, I think it's still more casual audience.
man, this didn't feel casual to me. Maybe just everything multiplayer feels sweaty to me.
Yeah,
So,
I mean,
yeah, I do definitely,
It's casual.
and I do. Yeah, when this game comes out, I'm sure we will have plenty of
yeah.
streams with three folks playing. So,
we
yeah,
know
we'll show
we
more
know
than
what you
we
people
implement.
like.
We know what you fucking sickos think about. And then the other thing I started last night on a personal stream. First off, we didn't even say we got an hour and a half into the stream. HBD tomorrow to the Order 1886, 10 years young. The Order 1886 turning 10 tomorrow.
Wow.
That game is a conundrum. That is, I'm gonna be honest, still one of the best looking games ever made. There's nothing interactive in this game. Like
This is exactly the Hellblade issue, right?
we talk about Hellblade. This might be even less than this might be even less than Hellblade. That being said, it's got a pretty good dialogue. I think pretty good dialogue. They sound like angry Brits and French folks. And B, one of the sickest guns I've ever seen in the game, where you fire like this white phosphorus smoke that kind of coats an area, and then you shoot a flare into the smoke. So you sort of like paint an area that you're about to napalm, and then you napalm it, and that feels good. That feels very good. In a game like Spec Ops: The Line, it feels bad because you're committing a war crime. But here, you're doing it against like werewolves and thugs, and so it's fine.
It's a game I get shit on for liking, but I've always maintained I didn't really care for the game. I just saw the potential in the world and the characters and wanted more.
It's a bummer that we never got to follow. I recently also played Rise: Son of Rome, which I kind of associate those two games in being not super interactive, but graphical showcases for the two consoles at the time. Both of which I would have loved to get a sequel of both those games and see what happened there. But
Rise Son of Rome had a good story too.
Yeah, I don't know. I think people should be allowed to make a first version of a thing, learn from it, and make a second version of it.
Is the story good in the Order?
Yeah, it's not bad.
Yeah, I haven't.
you didn't say it was good though.
Like the moments are like it is well written and well acted. I don't care about anything yet. I'm like a third into it. I mean, the game's only like 6 hours, but yeah, we'll see. Curious about it.
Yeah, sucks what happened already at Dawn, because like, man, like if they had their Uncharted 2 moment from that game, that could have been. I think that could have been big.
Yeah.
Wouldn't there have needed to be more game though?
Well, until Dawn and all those games sell, and they don't even have anywhere near the amount of gameplay as Rise or this.
Well, because those are those are choose your own adventure games like
But
that.
these are choose your own adventure games where you shoot.
Are they? You know, there is an argument to be made for that being the case. I just don't think that was the case. Like I think they were trying to make a more conventional game.
The order is just like a
Well,
cutscene and then a
yeah.
small combat scenario and then
Yeah.
another cutscene and a small combat scenario and like
Also,
People-
Rise was a Connect game. The fact that game came out at all.
you didn't have to connect it. I definitely didn't connect it when I streamed it.
No. It was. You don't remember the original reveal of Rise? Like it was a first person motion controlled game,
Oh, I actually forgot
and
about
then
that.
they completely rebooted it into the third person action game it became.
What
That's a good call.
nonsense. What absolute
Oh
nonsense.
yeah, the original Rise for Connect looked bad.
I'm shocked. I, for one, am shocked that a Connect game was bad. Paul with a $2 dono over in YouTube. Thanks so much, Paul. KC, did you hear about the Mortimer and Sigmar fanfic?
Oh,
I did not, and please do not tell me.
And please send us every image.
yes.
We would appreciate that quite a bit.
You know, before you wrap your part up, you mentioned you've been watching Severance season 2. How are you finding it?
I'm enjoying it, but I'm also sort of a mark for mystery box shit. People are like, "Oh no, this is going to turn into Lost," and I'm like fucking rubbing my hands, and I'm like, "Yes, it's turning into Lost." It does feel like they are getting dangerously close to writing checks that they creatively can't cash. But I still think it is one of the best looking, best written, best performed shows on TV.
Yeah, I'm caught up with it too. I definitely, I think it's like impossible to top season 1, but I'm definitely enjoying season 2.
Yeah.
Season 1 was just so weird that will stick with me a lot more than season 2, where it's
and it kind of came out of nowhere. Whereas now we have expectations and whatnot.
Yeah.
I'm curious to see how the rest of the season unfolds because it is definitely taking a lot of big swings. Cool. That's about it from my side. Anything else from you guys? Oh my god,
Nothing I can remember. No,
look at us. A tight
So it's not
90
on the dot.
A tight 90. I'm so proud of us. What do you have going on in your neck of the woods, Nick? What should folks keep an eye on from you?
I released my Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 essay on Tuesday, which people seem to actually enjoy, so I'm glad for that. And then I'll have a new episode of Unpacked on Friday, as usual, covering some of the stuff we talked about today, but some other stuff too, like Shohei Yoshida's interview. He's been going around. He's been talking to a lot of media outlets since he...
All I want to do is leave a job after 30 years and just start talking shit. Oh
Yeah.
god, that seems like the fucking dream.
Yeah, him, Kotick, both like almost 2 weeks apart. Just
Okay, let's not put them in the same sentence.
Well, I mean,
is a wonderful
I'm
man.
just talking about people that have been around the block.
Yes,
Yeah. Lots of interesting tidbits coming out from both of them. Kotick's obviously shitty. A lot of his are shitty, so not giving him any props for his. And then we'll have a sponsored stream on Friday.
Should be noon central, the normal
be a part
Dev
of
Heads
that.
time on Friday. Should be a fun sponsored stream, a 4-person stream, a game that's got an exclamation point at the end of it. And I'm going to be honest, if you put an exclamation point at the end of the name of your game, it's probably good.
We have some.
It worked for Haikyuu. They put 2.
We have two games that we're sponsored by over the next week that have very interesting names. I'll say that.
Yeah, big fan of all this.
We've been saying them a lot in our meetings.
One of them is very fun to say.
Oh yeah, I guess we can say the game. It's called Nubs. We'll be playing Nubs on Friday.
Friday is Nubs with an exclamation point, and I believe Monday in the hidden gem slot is going to be a game called Dunk Dunk. The game's so nice they named it twice.
And they look really good, so we're excited.
They both look fun. Yeah. Casey, what do you have going? You said you can't quite talk about the game you've been playing for a while.
Yeah, not just yet.
I think next week maybe we could talk about it. At some point next week, legally by the end of next week, we have to be able to. The fucker's going to be out, so it's
right. Yeah. But outside of that, Marty and I should be returning tomorrow for more Super Metroid. Friday, the wedding stream should be back. As Kia's go around, I think we're going to be starting Chicory. I think she's going to be playing through that because apparently that's kind of a non-hostile Legend of Zelda that a lot of folks seem to like. So we're gonna give it a shot.
Yeah, it's pretty emotional. It gets kind of real.
That's neat.
I played
Good
that.
to
With
know.
I played that with my ex-girlfriend.
Oh no,
we played together.
Real Debbie Downer over here.
Oh man. But yeah, outside of that, Super Smash Sunday should also be returning this coming Sunday. So join us for that over on the Second Wind Twitch only, 12:30 p.m. We go for 5 hours, but we cross over to my channel after the 2-hour mark. Yeah, I think that's it.
Hell yeah. Yeah, so you guys mentioned the streams. Liza P. I believe they're gonna be wrapping up their Liza P journey tomorrow. Jack's
Really?
Jack's just kind of
Jack's giving up.
but I'm sure we'll have something else fun in that slot. So send them off on a wonderful final voyage tomorrow, and then Patreons for the Phoenix tier folks tomorrow at 3 p.m. Central. We will be having our monthly movie night. Excited for that. We don't know what it is yet. Eric knows and Jack knows, and they literally haven't told anyone else. So if anything goes wrong, can't possibly be our fault. Can't possibly be our fault.
You know who to blame.
And then I think we can mention that we're having a bit of a scheduling change for the next couple weeks / months. We're going to be swapping Firelink and the Metroid streams. So at the normal Firelink time on Wednesdays, this time now, Casey and I will be jamming through doing our Metroids, whatever those streams are. And then in the normal Metroid slot on Thursdays, which is 7 p.m. Central, we're going to be doing Firelink. So it's a slight scheduling thing. Instead of having to not have the full crew here for a little while, we figure we could just swap those two. So we'll mention it to everyone, but going forward, Metroid's going to be on Wednesdays, and Firelink's going to be on Thursdays. Maybe that's good. A lot of times there's like showcases on Thursdays, so instead of being a week late, we're going to be the same day.
It might work out.
Oh,
Exactly.
and the reason for that is because I'm going to play pickleball on Wednesday nights.
You know, it felt better when we didn't give a reason and it was mysterious, but you're just like, oh, I need to
But
play.
you made it sound bad that somebody might not be here for a while.
Well, you wouldn't. If we were only doing it Wednesdays,
It's
you wouldn't
true.
be here.
You said that the change resolved the possibility of someone not being here.
But instead, you were like, I want to play baby's first ping pong, and I want everyone to know. Gaga goo goo, I have a little cucumber handle. Did you know that pickles are cucumbers pickled? Think about that.
Strange cucumbers.
I'll challenge you to pickleball the next time I see you two. And
I'm not playing pickleball.
I'm not playing
That's
pickleball.
right. That's
I'm not
right.
playing
You won't
I
even
refuse.
keep up.
I play adult sports.
Yeah,
like
that's
skeet
one
shooting,
reason.
What?
like skeet shooting,
Mowing your lawn?
rock throwing, and then Dower Dodger with a $2
Ultimate frisbee.
Ultimate frisbee, and then Dower Dodger with a $2 dono. I think it's much Dower Dodger. Casey's been playing Silk Song. Don't lie to us. Did you see that they took it off the Switch store and then they put it back? It's happening.
What, Silk Song?
Yeah, they
Silk
took
Song
it off
got
for like
removed
2
from the Switch
seconds.
store.
How is it?
Like,
Oh, we
you
also
know
didn't
why?
mention that Nick has
Gotta
points on
update
the
it for a
board
second.
I do.
for the fantasy league. Yeah, because what's
Oh,
the name came
Avowed.
out? Yeah.
Am I winning?
Oh, I should also.
No.
'Cause didn't I have Yakuza?
Yeah, but it's like takes a day or two for it to like populate. So like, yeah, Yakuza.
Submit Yahtzee's review. Say it was 100 out of 100.
But no, Nick
Shit.
is
Yeah,
in second
wait,
place.
Yeah, I like this idea. Submit Yahtzee's review for KC.
There you go. No.
Below for their place.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll have when the first couple are on the board, we'll give a nice little check-in and see how everyone's doing there. But yeah, I think that about does it for us. Thank you everyone who watched live over on YouTube, listening on your podcast service of choice, watching the VOD. Especially huge thanks to all of our patrons. We appreciate every single one of you, especially that $5 tier and above. You know, you get all sorts of cool shit in there. You get your monthly videos, your weekly columns, all your fun stuff. So appreciate every single one of you. And then Inverse guys with $3 Australian. Thank you so much, Inverse guys. Pickleball is something my mom plays to stay fit. It is it's kind of heavy. Mom's got to cut a couple LPs vibe to it. You sound like a mom who needs to trim a little bit,
it's
which is
popular
fine.
amongst
You have
the
never
Gen
Xers.
It
Advanced
seems like.
League pickleball.
And
Shit's
I
good.
never
will,
Nick.
You're just a hater.
No,
Oh,
it makes
pickleball,
sense.
yes.
You like pickleball and you like sharing cool gifts that you found on the internet, which I feel like are both like heavy Gen X things. You're just older than you give off, and I
Well,
appreciate
yeah.
that.
I mean, I listen to classic rock. I'll be going back to play hockey soon, though. Too. Fuck you.
I'm proud of you. Very proud of you.
You gonna use that paddle?
No, I'm gonna use a stick.
Pickle hockey. For Nick and Casey and Eric, this was Marty. This was Firelink episode number 55. Thank you again, everyone, for tuning in. We appreciate you all. Have a great rest of your Wednesdays, and we'll see you all next time. Bye, everyone.
Peace.
I hate that image Eric put up.
No, that's